Good morning, everybody. And this morning we have got Kenny Walker on for his very last Soulman surgery, weekly Soulman surgery anyway. He is going to be back, but this is going to be his last weekly surgery. So everybody, I want you to tap that screen and send Kenny loads of love. And I'm just going to bring him up on the screen right now. Hello.
Morning. Hello, everybody.
How are you, Kenny? Good?
Good. Ready as always. Just enjoying the snow there with the dog and James.
Been out playing in the snow, snowball fights and everything with the dog, eh?
Reliving my youth.
So, Kenny, obviously this is your last Soulman surgery for now because obviously you're so busy with work. You've got loads of new clients.
Yeah.
And we do have things to talk about every week if we've got you on top. Over and over.
So let's recap on last week.
Yeah, so we want to keep it interesting for everybody, which is important. Yeah. And there's no point in having Kenny on every week and saying, right, so let's talk about jogging, like we did 2 weeks ago, or whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. So please do ask as many questions as you can for Kenny as well. You know, that's what he's here for. It is a surgery. So please feel free to ask Kenny anything that you want, exercise, nutrition related. First of all, Kenny, I have to say, like, a huge big thank you from me. One, for coming over the last 6 weeks and spending.
How long has it been? 6 weeks?
Yeah, aye.
Oh my God.
It's been 6 weeks. So one, for all of that, but two, you've really inspired me to take a wee bit more control over my well-being, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So the last week I've been really focused. I've been every time I boil the kettle, I've been squatting.
It works a treat, by the way, doesn't it?
It's really good. It's actually really inspired me. Say that again?
I says, I bet your bum's all perky now.
No. Still a long way to go for that, but it really has inspired me, speaking to you every week and just taking control of things where it doesn't have to be difficult.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. It's been a great experience. It's been really good.
Yeah, so I've got a few questions for you from people who are part of our Soulman Wellness Hub. So if you aren't part of the Soulman Wellness Hub, jump on there. We've got, I think we've got over 100 members in that private group now. And in there, we talk all things relating to being a better version of yourself. We share food pictures, which is always really good. Yeah. Bit of food porn 3 times a day. So there's loads and loads going on in there as well. So do feel free to join that. So a few of the members of that have asked questions. And one of the first questions that I've got for you, Kenny, is from lovely lady Eve. And she is saying, how can I stay focused? I start exercising. Once I've exercised, I go straight to the fridge and I reward myself with food.
One thing I used to say was literally, and it was quite abrupt. So it's like, don't reward yourself with food because you're not a dog. What I would suggest with that is if you're going to the fridge, and whatever you're eating in the fridge, say it's, I don't know, like a chocolate mousse or whatever she's going to reach for in the fridge, I would maybe suggest to not buy it or not buy as much. Because if you buy it and it's there, like me with custard creams, if I've got custard creams there, I will eat the full packet within the day because it's there. So I now stop buying it. That's the biggest advice I would give to somebody who has that habit of exercising, because they'll have that relationship. They exercise and then they'll go to the fridge and that's they're waiting on them. If they don't buy it, then they can't eat it. It's like if you have a wee cup of tea, a lot of people have a biscuit with it, and that biscuit leads to 2 or 3 biscuits. That then is embedded in their brain. The body expects that. Whereas if she didn't have it, or if she had an alternative to whatever she's eating, go for that.
That's interesting. Have you ever tried? I don't know if you've ever tried this, but there's a tea. I think it's the Yorkshire Tea Company that make it. It's called biscuit tea. You taste it?
I've no tasted it. I prefer coffee, to be fair, but I've heard about that. Do you drink it?
I prefer coffee as well, but if I do have a cup of tea, I quite like it. It's a bit like when your rich tea falls into your cup of tea.
Yes, it's very clever. It's like killing two birds with one stone, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's actually a good wee tip there. But I think that's brilliant, Kenny. The fact that don't buy the multi-pack, and you're not a dog, so you need to reward
don't reward yourself. Yeah, so Eve, if you do watch this, that would be my advice to you. Either don't buy it or buy a lesser amount so that it runs it out quicker. You save yourself money.
Yeah.
That's the way I would look at it.
Susan and I were speaking about this yesterday, and we've done a wee thing in the Wellness Hub about that relationship that people have with food, and usually it's something that's really deep and ingrained. And what Susan was saying is you can't change a habit by depriving yourself. No. What you have to do is change that habit and give yourself a new habit, but there must be a reward attached. Yeah.
It's almost like a gradual change, isn't it? You've got to go through and it'll take, somebody could do it in a week, somebody might take a month or 2 months. It just depends on them as a person and how far back that goes.
Yeah. And I suppose for some people, those rewards as they start to lose weight, get leaner, feel better, it could be clothes, it could be, a new haircut, it could be, I don't know, whatever they choose.
Anything. It could be anything rather than rewarding themselves with the food that they don't really need.
And what do you find, see when people have that mentality of like they reward themselves with food after workouts? What happens after that? Do you find that people just lose track completely, or?
I think what a lot of people is they'll go through that process of they'll eat rubbish after they've worked out, or a snack or something that they don't really need, and then they have the guilt, and then there's that whole emotional journey down. I've had that, so I might as well have something else, and before you know it, that one day becomes the full week, and 3 weeks later they're back to that self-loathe and the self-hate. And then they struggle to see the light, I suppose, to get back out of it. And then before you know it, a full year's passed. It flies by so quickly. They spend the whole time focusing on, I exercise, but then I had that. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. Rather than saying to yourself, right, that's happened. Let's just move on. It's so common. We become so fixated on what we consider the problem, rather than focusing on how to fix it or a solution for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And if we're kind of on the same topic there, one of the girls has said, Penny, why is it that when I exercise, I always feel really tired?
It could be a combination of things. It could be the fact if you're sleep deprived, you might not be drinking enough water. Or maybe you're just not maybe you're just not eating the right foods that your body requires for the type of exercise that you're doing. There's loads of wee factors that come into play with things like that, which is why it's important for you to be aware of we were talking about last week, Stephen, is the whole body fitness. It's not just about the exercise, it's about everything else that's going on in your life. How is work? How's things with your relationships? How's your friendships? Are you truly doing what makes you happy in life? Because if you don't have the energy to exercise, there could be loads of other things going on. It's not just down to your food and your water, there's everything else going on.
So it's really a holistic approach is what you're saying then.
That's it. The whole body. Maybe I think we spoke last week about the times of exercise. Somebody had asked that. Yeah. When's the best time to exercise? It could be down to that. She might just be exercising at the wrong time. So she could maybe look at that.
Exercise. I know that we spoke about this last week. Here we go with that whole we're going round.
It's nice to revert back though, because it means we kind of know what we're talking about, so it kind of seems more professional, doesn't it?
So would you say first thing in the morning? Would you say that's a really good time to get started?
I love exercising first thing in the morning. I had HIIT this morning virtually, which I couldn't go to the gym to do because of snow. But I taught HIIT at 7:30, and it just wakes you up. And I've not even, I can't go and get a coffee because of the snow, unfortunately. But I've not had a coffee, but I feel like I've had a coffee. But it's just because of that adrenaline rush, your body's just totally like ready to go. But again, a lot of people will prefer to stay in their bed a bit longer rather than getting up half an hour early to do a class. So again, it just depends on you.
Next question is, fasted, I work out better. Why is that?
So what did you say?
When I am fasted, I work out better.
So again, that could be a mindset thing. So when you're fasted, it depends on how long you're fasted as well. There's nothing in your system at all. For me personally, I couldn't fast because I just love food too much. But that could be a mindset thing. So for example, if somebody says to themselves, I'm going to fast, and when I'm fasting, there's loads of I guess loads of people think that it makes your body burn energy a bit differently.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that person's mindset could be, right, if I work a wee bit more here, I'm going to get a wee bit more back. But for me, I couldn't. I think if I exercised fasted, I would probably faint because I get that lightheaded and dizzy way if I haven't eaten enough.
It's quite dangerous as well, you know, if you've not got any fuel in your body and then you're going to push yourself to the limits, you know. I would imagine that's quite dangerous, would you?
Yeah. It can be. A lot of people do it very early in the morning, so they'll get up, they won't have their breakfast, and they'll go into the gym, and they'll do the fasted workout. So it's quite common for people to do. But for me, I would never ask a client to do it because I don't like it. And if I can't experience something and I don't like it, I'm not going to tell them to do something because then I can't really say what they should expect or how it should feel for them.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, you know, if she or he likes that and gets something from it, then go for it.
Brilliant. My camera's playing
funny buggers.
Next question is, can I work out after I've eaten something bad? I always feel that if I go do a 4-mile run or something like that after I've eaten something bad, that will counteract the calories I've consumed.
No, it won't work. It won't work. And again, that would...
No.
It isn't about like that. 9 times out of 10, when you have something bad, you're going to need to run a lot longer than 4 miles. A lot longer. And again, for me, that boils down to the whole unhealthy relationship with food. You don't want it. It's almost like you eat some... What do we say earlier on? If you exercise then eat something bad, it's on the flip side of that. You've got an unhealthy relationship there with food where you're going to eat something bad. So because of that, you're going to feel guilty. And then you feel like you need to put pressure on yourself to go and exercise to try and burn that off. Why not just eat better?
It's almost like punishing yourself. It's like, you know, if you eat something bad, right, I need to go and run 4 miles, or I need to go and go to the gym.
Why not just eat something better and run 2 miles? Yeah. Number one, you put your body under less pressure in terms of what it's digesting and what it's processing. And number two, less pressure because it's half the mileage that you're trying to run. And the fuel that your body's using to run that 2 miles will be far more beneficial than the rubbish that you've eaten for the 4 miles. Yeah. There's far more benefits to eating better and then running. So even if, whoever's asked that question, even if you try to do that once a week, I don't know how often they eat bad and maybe they do it every day, but even if you try to do it like once a week, eat healthy and then run 2 miles and then check in with yourself and see how you're feeling before and after it, you might feel you've got more energy levels. That's something that I would do.
Yeah. I've got a question as well, and it's not relating to, but it's relating to me. So, and it's about weighing your. So, like I've been eating really well. I've been tracking all my food on MyFitnessPal, and the reason
I've seen a lot of your food pictures. I'm loving them, Stephen.
Oh really?
I do my nosy sometimes on your posts, and I'm like, oh, that's food picture. That looks great. You're like, oh no.
I'm tracking my calories at about 2,000 a day because I don't want to knock myself out too much.
Yep.
And it's really, I'm tracking my calories for a month so that I can visually see how food looks when it's plated up, and so then I can look at. I don't want to track calories for the rest of my life. I'll be able to look at like a loaf of bread and say that's about
X amount of calories. Yeah.
So what I'm asking with that is, I've been doing it for 7 days, and I had been doing it for 7 days. This is day like 9, I think, and I weighed myself.
Why?
I don't know.
You just wanted to do your nosy?
Because I could feel changes in my body, and I weighed myself, and I'd stayed the same, and I was reaching. And like, see, at that point, I was so annoyed with myself, it completely demotivated me. And without sharing it in our wellness group, so I'd shared, like, guys, this is what's happened. I'm totally demotivated. I've weighed myself and I've no changed. And the support that I got within that group, that was great because, they kept me going through the day.
Yeah. So tell me, Stephen, can I just ask you that, right? So what did the number on the scale represent to you when you looked at that? What did it represent?
Fat bastard.
Why? What? So, like, you could have stepped on that 4 hours later and been 4 pounds lighter. Is that scale number your goal, or is it just the journey?
Say that again.
So, see the scale number that you saw.
Yeah.
Is that your goal, or was that just the journey?
For me, I need to see numbers going down every week. If I didn't see numbers going down, I'm totally demotivated.
Mm-hmm. So just remember, if you're stepping on the scales, right? If you are using the scales, that number isn't you where you're at. That's your goal. That's just your journey. So that's not your stopping point. So that's where you were on that day. But next week will be different. Week after, it will be different every single week. So it's important to remember that, because it's so easy to be demotivated because of that scale number. And loads of people do use it. It's totally fine. And like you says, as long as it's going the right direction. But just remember, it's your journey. That's not where you are there and then. That will change. That's no permanent. And what you said as well, it was interesting. You said that you felt things were changing. So it was almost like you didn't believe. It's like that. I don't know, like, maybe the scales will say what I want it to say. Maybe the scales will, be my pal, and then know your pal, and then you end up raging at yourself. Just trust in yourself and trust in your senses, and trust that if you're feeling changes, 9 times out of 10, the changes are happening. But give yourself enough, I guess, positive reinforcement to understand that scale number isn't infinite. It's just a part of your journey, and it's not the end goal. So next time you do step on them, say to yourself, Stephen, this isn't the end goal. Whatever this number says, this will change.
Mm-hmm. I do hear many people saying to me, though, things like, go with the feeling of your clothes, go with this, go with that. And I'm like, no, I want to see the numbers.
So why don't you take measurements and see the numbers going down in the measurements? Because they're far more accurate. Yeah.
I have noticed a difference in my jacket. So when I'm out with the dog, I've got my jacket on, I'm like, oh, this is a bit loose. And
it's becoming a tent.
Yeah, got more energy, and I'm just feeling a bit better. So I suppose for anybody watching this, they might be thinking, that they've got this unhealthy relationship with the scales. And I think what I've definitely learned about myself this week is that I have got an unhealthy relationship with the scales. But it's not. I had my period that day, so
you were menopausal. That's fixable. It's fixable. It's sometimes it's not easy, because if it's something that you've done for a long time, it's like a habit.
Yeah.
So you need to replace that with something else. But again, even aim to do it once a month or bi-monthly. If you are very much right, I need to, I want to do this because it's what I want to see, then by all means go for it. But just don't beat yourself up, because it's part of your journey and it's not the end goal. What is your end goal? What would you say your end goal is? What do you want to achieve? And don't say to be a certain weight. Do you want to look a certain way? Do you want to look in the mirror and go, you're quite sexy, Stephen? Or
I want to feel how I felt before, just full of energy, full of life. Because it wasn't necessarily the numbers before. I'd lost like 8.5 stone, which is a person or a wee person. And it wasn't the weight loss. The numbers started to no matter really. I suppose it was more about the way I felt.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to that.
So just keep that in mind. Just keep in mind you're working towards feeling the better version of you, feeling like you used to. I suppose you could use the comparison, but you're going to feel better rather than what that number on the scale say.
Yeah,
that's a good way to look at it. That's part of your journey. That's not the end goal. Remember that.
Thanks for that. That does help. Yeah. We've got a few questions here, so I'm going to start popping over to the questions. So we've got Suzanne is asking, I haven't worked out for years. Where do I start? I'm 53, 5 stone overweight. I walk a lot, but that's all.
So Suzanne, walking is actually very good. This week we're actually in my group with my clients, we're doing a step challenge. What I've suggested, so I've got some people in the group who have had issues with body dysmorphia, OCD, with counting and over obsessive with calories. So there's two different options I've got for people. So every day what we're aiming to do is 2,500 extra steps on top of what our average was last week. So for example, if I'm 12,000 steps a day usually, I'm aiming for 14.5 every day this week. For the people who don't like counting numbers and don't have the watches and stuff, I've just challenged them to do an extra 15 or 20 minute walk every day so that everybody's included. So Suzanne, if you've not worked out for years and you are walking, that's something you could look at, depending on if you have a watch or if you don't have a watch. Monitor how long you're out for, and then look to see, like, next week I'm going to add an extra 10 minutes onto that day or an extra 15 minutes onto that day, depending on how it feels. You don't have to go hell for leather. You don't have to do classes. You don't have to do workouts. It has to fit into your life. So if you're already walking, I think that would be a perfect start for you, Suzanne.
Brilliant. Suzanne, I hope that helps. Let us know if it helps. And I suppose we've said it for the last few weeks, Kenny, it doesn't have to be big things, does it?
No, small things. Tiny things.
Big change, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
April saying there, I've binned my scales because I'm totally the same and get hung up on the number. Pictures and measurements are the way forward. Totally
agree. April, I am living for this. That's probably the best comment we've had in a while. It is interesting, Stephen, because have you taken any pictures, any progress pictures at all?
I do. I've got a picture of when I was at my heaviest, and I've got a picture of when I was at my lightest. And I didn't like myself when I was at my lightest.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, isn't it?
Oh.
It would be interesting to see pictures. So if you took a picture on day 1 of tracking your food versus, say, day 7, and you run the scales on both, your body shape might be completely different, but the weight might be the same. And that's why this year more than ever, I'm really pushing clients to make sure they're taking their pictures. Because if you can see it, it's a bigger motivation. I think it's a bigger push for people to go, God, my belly doesn't look as big, or my bum's more perky, or my bingo wings look smaller. These are all the things that you look for when you're taking your progress pictures rather than the scales. So it would have been interesting for you, even if you should maybe do that today. Take some pictures.
Yeah, actually. That might help the mentality of it.
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne is saying, yeah, do around 10,000 steps. I'll do extra. Thank you.
Good. Suzanne, I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on.
How many extra would you recommend, Kenny?
Maybe if Suzanne's doing that every day, she could probably push 2,000, maybe 1.5 to 2,000 steps. And again, my thought process behind this is whatever challenges I decide to do with my clients next week, they will then find so last week, if I was 11,000 steps, they'll find that relatively easy, and that will hopefully in their mind go, do you know what, I could probably go out for a wee bit extra today. And maybe their average will then become 12,000, for example. I had some people yesterday post in last night for the first, and they had their, what do they call it? Their top steps ever. people are hitting 2.5, 3, and 4,000 more steps just because that's that incentive of I need to post my final step count into the group later on. People are out in the snow. It's good fun. But again, it's all about, these are the small things that we're doing at the start. 6, 7 months down the line, if they decide to leave me, they'll have those habits. They'll have that push, the motivation.
So yeah, you're really setting people up for life, aren't you?
Yeah. It's the smallest things.
And do you think challenges work, Kenny? Because a lot of people say that challenges are great and they work and they're really motivational, but for some people, a challenge could be something that's really tough, that they find too much pressure.
Yeah. And that's why when I put it in the group on Sunday, I was like, literally, there's no obligation. And that's also why I gave the 2 avenues, because picking numbers isn't for everybody. It becomes way too obsessive. So it's like, fire in an extra 15 or 20 minutes. If you don't want to do it, it's absolutely fine because you've still got other things that you can be doing. But this was just a wee extra push for the guys in the group who are constantly active and constantly exercising, and they just need sometimes a wee bit more to know that I'm watching them, besides being connected to my watch away.
Ping, ping.
They forget sometimes I'm connected until they get a wee message through from me, a wee sarcastic message.
I think what you're saying, though, it's really, any kind of challenge, when people that don't want to do the challenge and see it as maybe too much pressure, when they see that others doing it, it inspires them to want to change as well, doesn't it?
It's the group aspect, and that's also why I said to people, because it's easy to say, right, hit, let's everybody hit 14,000 steps. That could be massively out of somebody's realm who maybe only gets 5,000 steps a day. That's why I says, look at your average across last week. If you were 5,000 for a lot of the days, aim for 7. And then there's people in the group who get 16 and 17,000, so they're now 19 to 20,000 steps. But it's that whole caliber. Everybody's different. Everybody lives different lives.
I think that's actually one of the biggest aspects of being healthy and losing weight and just feeling better as community.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why the big slimming organisation that kind of covers the UK, I think that's why they do so well, or have done so well, because they've got groups of over 100 people who they're pals. It's
they're all experiencing the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a sense of community. They're all together. They're all experiencing the same stuff. They're celebrating. They're
cooking
each other.
Yeah,
so totally. It's exactly the same with any kind of group like yours.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Massively. It's the way it's totally been I think the past year more than ever, I think it's been a realization for a lot of people in our industry and the fitness industry that the community feel in anywhere will keep people with you, because people like to be part of something. I like to know that I'm part of something. I like to be part of something as well.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel good.
Well, you were part of the So Bad surgeries.
I still am.
I'm not kidding. You'll see on a Wednesday morning, James on the camera, and Kenny will be in the background making his toast. So you've got Louise here. Louise is saying, what's your thoughts on weights over cardio for weight loss?
So this is interesting because I do a live Q&A on my own wee group tonight. So this was one of the questions that somebody had asked about weights and cardio. So weights is always something that I have totally preferred for any client at all. It's always, in my opinion, a better way to get results, simply because you're building lean muscle mass. So when you're building lean muscle mass, the body shape changes. It changes differently to just doing cardio. If you're doing cardio and you're overweight, you are at more risk of having the loose skin. If you do a combination of both, it's even better, because of course you've got the fitness aspect. But I would say there's about 5% in my 7 years in the industry, I have had a client on a cross trainer or a treadmill simply because I see the benefits are much more doing weights. And obviously, I think we spoke about this, was it last week or the week before maybe, that muscle.
We're on that wheel again.
Muscle and fat are completely different in terms of how they're built and how they pack the body. But one thing I'm big on is if you do like a wee bit of cardio, I would suggest to do your weights first, so that you burn the first energy source that your body's using, and then straight onto the treadmill or whatever it is if you go for a run, and then it's the next energy source that your body's using. And one more wee point, when it comes to weightlifting, when you're lifting heavy weights, your body is burning calories at the same rate for a full 24 hours longer. Whereas when you're doing your cardio, it's almost instantly, as soon as you stop doing that cardio, your body just stops burning. So there's pros and cons to both of them. I am big on weightlifting, and I'm sure if any of my clients are watching this, they'll say that. That's why I don't have any, I've only got the assault bike in my gym, but only because I love it. It absolutely messes you up. But my gym's just weights and plyo stuff.
It's the same with my trainer as well. He's just got weights, plyo stuff, and he's got the bike as well. That bike's a blast, I have to say. We all like that bike. But I would totally agree with what you're saying. You know, I've not done anything for 4 weeks because my trainer, he's had COVID. But see, when I'm lifting weights, I feel a change in my body so much quicker than I ever would running. Like, see running or sitting on an exercise bike for an hour, I would rather rip my face off and set it on fire. Honestly, I really would.
I just think you feel better when you lift weights. I love cardio. I love, like, when I teach classes and I'm doing cardio classes, I love it, but it's because it's all choreographed into the music. But I just think when you're lifting weights, you just feel, it's a totally different feeling. I think you just feel strong.
And what's your, because this is something that I've never been able to get over, and it's the DOMS. So DOMS is delayed onset muscle soreness, is that right?
Yeah, that's it, yep.
Does it ever stop?
I mean, it stops if you're doing the same type of training for a period of time, but I guess you kind of want it. You do kind of want the DOMS not to. I mean, I know when you get back into exercise and you're doing weightlifting and you lift probably a wee bit heavier, and it's a horrible feeling. It's totally horrible, but your muscles become accustomed to it. But you do want it because I guess it's a kind of, it's an indication that your muscles are still working to how they should to that specific type of training. If you're not getting it, your muscles are still working, but you do want it to some degree. And I've got a lot of clients that they like it. They like that feeling of, oh my God, like my ass is killing me, or oh my God, my shoulders. They just feel like they've worked.
Yeah. I have to admit, I do like the feeling of it. Even though it's like, you know, you're going to sit down and you're like,
try to sit in the toilet pan.
Like, try to get to bed in the morning and you're like,
you feel it. It is. It's a bit like, you feel a bit stiff, but it's a good stiff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something, I suppose, that I've never, ever been able to get past, is that whole feeling. I always remember people saying to me, see, when you first start doing any kind of weightlifting or working out, you'll always feel sore and then it goes away. But for me, it's never went away, and I think it's because I pushed myself really hard every time.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
So what is that pain? Is that your muscles repairing then?
So when you do your weight training, there's tiny wee micro tears that happen in the muscle. So you get build up of lactate, I think it is. A lot of people think it's lactic acid, but I think it's lactate. And that's a byproduct of the oxygen. When you exercise as a byproduct, it's called lactate, but then the oxygen goes to the muscle to get rid of it. So basically what you're feeling the next day, and sometimes the day after, is just the wee tiny micro tears. And they repair, and that's why it's important to always get a wee bit extra protein after a weightlifting session, because muscle is protein.
Mm-hmm. How much protein as well? You know, I know that sounds crazy, right? But after I do a session, I'm always like, should I be drinking like protein shakes, or should I, you know? I think that's something that everybody's always a bit like, what do you do?
Yeah. So protein shakes are a funny one. I'll say to somebody to get protein, have a protein shake if they're struggling to get protein from their foods, because the body prefers to absorb food naturally. That's just protein or any other macronutrient naturally from food. It just likes it. If you are really struggling, then have a protein shake. I'd maybe avoid having like 2 or 3 every day. I don't know if it's that great for your digestive tract. I've known people who have ended up constipated or ended up with the runs for drinking too many protein shakes. But I think one's fine, because you get about 25 grams of protein, which is about the same as a tin of tuna. But there's no magic window for them. A lot of folk used to think that you should have it straight after a workout or have it before a workout. I don't think it actually matters. But it's good to get that in there if you're struggling. So say you've got 150 grams of protein to hit and it's late at night and you can't force another chicken breast on your throat, protein drink's the way forward.
I love that, because I think in my head I've always thought I need to go and buy like a big bag of protein powder and then drink it straight after. So the fact that you're saying there, you don't have to do that. Just eat protein.
Just eat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would be like
we're here we put in this air for number 1 to reproduce. That's all humans were here to do. And number 2, eat. But yeah, a lot of people don't think that they should.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Louise is saying there as well. She's saying, Louise, hypertrophy.
Yep. So concentrate on more reps for 4 rounds with a smaller weight. 24 to 30 reps for 4 rounds with a smaller weight. So is somebody asked about building muscle? That's what hypertrophy means. Maybe somebody's asked about building muscle, so concentrate on more reps.
I think that goes back to Louise's first question there.
What can I do? I have small weights but limited with what I have in the house. What can I do without weights for exercise?
So I think that connects to that.
Yeah, Louise is right there. But again, body weight, if she's limited and she's only got small weights, or I don't know the context of that. But body weight exercises, we spoke about this as well last week. Like, body weight is one of the most powerful tools that you can use to get your full body moving without using any resistance. It's really beneficial, especially to somebody who maybe hasn't exercised in a while, like Suzanne, or is just beginning to exercise. It's a great way to get muscles conditioned before you then add the weights. But yeah, Louise is right there.
One thing that I'm really trying to do just now is 10 pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to 3 and then I look like a bit of white spaghetti wrapped over the end.
Bit of white pasta. We've got that Scottish complexion, haven't we? We're just white.
What's your top tip on pull-ups?
So your wrists have a lot to play in the pull-ups. So I would look at your wrist strength. So small weights work really well. So see if you just rest your hand on your thigh or something, you get a small weight, or even like a tin of beans. I would work on that just to get your wrist strength up as well, because a lot of time it's either somebody's wrist strength that's lacking, or sometimes it's their biceps.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my top tip for that.
Yeah.
How are you practicing them, Stephen? How are you getting round to?
I'm just
to the door.
Yeah, pull up the pull up thing on the door. Yeah, but I've also been doing a lot of press ups as well. So I'm trying to do like say 25 press ups every morning.
Knees or toes?
Strength.
On your knees or on your toes?
Toes.
On your toes. Yeah, that's good. What you could try is as well, if you find that your strength is fine in your arms, you could put either, I don't know if you've got like a small ladder or like a wee footstool or something you can stand on. Use that to help you get up to the top phase, and then take your feet off it and then go. So you know the down phase, the eccentric phase.
Yeah. Count
down for 2 and then put your foot back on and use that to pull you up, because the down phase will be harder than the up phase. And then gradually you'll be able to add the up and the down phase together if you find that your strength is okay here.
It's funny because everybody thinks that you're cheating when you do things like that, but you're not really. You're just resisting yourself until you get to better.
It's like anything. You get the foundations right, and then you go for the big guns. Then you're less likely to, number one, you're more likely to feel successful for it, and number two, you're less likely to risk injury down the line if you start doing 40 and 50 pull-ups in a row.
It's really interesting because, see, my mentality, it's always been that I need to go to the gym to get healthy and fit, whereas actually this last week I've been doing lots of stuff in the house, just like press-ups every day, trying to get to those 10 pull-ups and then squatting at the kettle.
They're honestly, see the basic movement patterns, they will benefit somebody far more through life than going to the gym and doing a full 60-minute session. They benefit your body so much.
It's something that's so easy to do at home though, isn't it? And
we never thought it before, but the pandemic has forced us to think differently, and actually working out at home is more convenient.
Yeah.
Saves you time having to drive to the gym or walk to the gym, get parked, get changed, put your stuff in the locker, find the machines that you want to use, or go where you find the space that you want to use. It's just so much easier. I quite like this morning just turning on the laptop and doing it from here. I love going to the gym, but it was just nice. I got that extra 15 minutes in my bed.
It's always better working from home, eh? I love working from home.
Yeah, it's nice.
Back to the shop, I'm going to be a bit like, I can't just walk downstairs and have to drive.
Are you quite far for your shop, Stephen?
I'm 10 minutes, so I live in Livingston and shops in Broxburn, so we're just just off the M8, really.
Is Broxburn where Stacey and Marissa's gym is? Booty camp? Are they in Broxburn?
No, they're in Polbeth. So
that's what it is.
That's kind of in no man's land in the middle of nowhere.
I think that's where somewhere like Marissa needs to be, isn't it? Where she can make as much noise as she wants and nobody run about her can hear her within a 7-mile radius.
Yeah. You're going to be watching this and she'll be saying, "You paid bastards."
She will be.
Yeah, they need something that's like 21 acres of land around them. People need to come in a helicopter just to come. Alright, guys, I'm here.
Oh, I love her. She's mental.
Yeah, she's funny. You ever seen her on a bike?
Aye, I've seen her on a bike. Aye, she's like a demon on speed, isn't she?
I know. I've never seen somebody's legs go that fast.
And she's like 5 foot as well. She's like tiny.
But yeah, they're the other side. So aye, they're close to us, I suppose. If you think about West Lothian, it's not really close, but they're closer. Yeah. What were we saying anyway? I completely forgot.
I think you popped a comment up. We were talking about your push-ups and your pull-ups and stuff. There was a comment that popped up.
Yeah, it was Martin. So Martin, who works with you, I believe, and he's saying, I like these types of challenges. So that's talking about the challenges. When I achieve or exceed a target, I absolutely love it. But in the same vein, if I don't get it,
I get really disappointed in myself. Yeah. And I think that's what we were saying. It's the whole aspect of sometimes challenges don't work for everybody. Because there is that flip side. If you don't get it, you will be disappointed in yourself. But I guess that's if you're, how do you change your mindset for that? How do you fix that and say to yourself, do you know what, that's all right. I didn't get it, but I will get it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've got that fire of always wanting to do better.
I suppose you could flip that, Martin, to the whole Thomas Edison thing. Thomas Edison tried 1,000 different ways of making the light bulb, and on the 1,000th time it worked. So, that's
crazy, isn't it? I never knew that.
Did you know?
No, I never knew that. No.
Yeah. I suppose anything that's worth having, we're going to fail. And failure is first attempt in learning. You're just learning. So I suppose looking back on challenges and thinking, right, I maybe never got my goal, but what did I learn from that?
It's never I think you've said this before, it's never a mistake. Like we say, it's never a mistake. It's all learning. Everything's learning in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good takeaway, Martin.
Yeah. Talking about takeaways as well, I wanted to
Tell me.
You know what I ask you, don't you? So when you go crazy and you have something that's like really high in calories, calorific, like you and James with your wee trip to the sweetie shop the other day.
That's my downfall. Like, I have the biggest sweet tooth ever. I ate mine's and it has.
Do you know what I love about that though, Kenny? Is that you share it. You're no hiding it. You're very much like, this is what I've done. This is what I've had. There's no guilt. There's no shame attached to it, apart from the fact that you're like, whoa, I've got a bit of a food.
I came home and I was like, I need to go for a nap because it was greed. But I like my clients and people to know that personal trainers are good people.
Yeah.
It's just a job. It's just a job title. It's just what we do as a job. We like the same stuff.
Yeah, and I suppose that's balance, isn't it? You know, it's every single person on this planet needs to have a day where they eat shite.
Aye. You do. Sometimes two for me.
And would you think that eating shite one day a week is good and healthy for people, or would
I think if you need that release and you feel that you need to have a day where it's okay to go off your plan or whatever it is you're doing, then absolutely. I know that I need to have it, but if you're starting off your fitness journey and you've got a certain goal in mind and you're doing that every week, I think I've said this before, you're prolonging how quickly you get to that goal. But as long as you're okay with that, as long as you're okay with taking a bit longer, that's your journey. But if it's every week and it's every Friday, Saturday and Sunday, then you should probably maybe reevaluate what it is you want to achieve if we're talking about that in a goal aspect. But if you are good, if you eat how you should eat every day and you need a wee day off a week, then absolutely do it. Because otherwise you will 9 times out of 10 relapse 3 weeks down the line and you will have 3 or 4 days of eating rubbish, and then you go through the whole emotional, I feel guilty, I feel rubbish, I hate myself. And it takes you another week to come away for that and then get back on it.
I think that's the thing. It's if you're going to do it, like, know that once it's done, and don't keep it going.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to just keep going and keep eating shite.
Yeah.
You know, you think, oh, that's it. I've had that massive bit of cake. That's it. I'm just going to go crazy and.
Yeah. It's like you learn. You could look at that as making a mistake. I wouldn't like to put that on it if you're eating something, because it's again, I don't like making unhealthy relationships with food, because you're just learning. If you have that bit of cake, it's like, so why did I have that bit of cake? Why did I feel like I needed it? You know, is it that I do actually need to have a bit of cake every week? Will that help me work harder? Will that keep me more focused and more motivated, knowing that I can do something like that?
I have to say, see when I lost all my weight before 8.5 stone, I had one slab of chocolate cake every single Sunday, and I would sit with a bit of chocolate cake, and I would.
This sounds very much like a movie that I've seen before called Matilda. Have you seen it? Bruce. One big slab. That's what I envisioned. That big slab of cake.
It wasn't that big. It was like I would sit there with the bit of chocolate cake with a fork, and I would eat it really slowly, and it was my treat.
Yeah.
Straight after that, I was right back on my plan, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I would really look forward to that treat every week.
It's an enjoyment. Yeah, it's an enjoyment. It's like somebody with a bottle of wine. Somebody likes a bottle of wine on a Saturday night, then go for it. Me.
Definitely. Learned experience, eh?
Yep.
Louise is saying, I think you also need to enjoy what you do to keep fit and not find it a chore. When I was younger, I did lots of dance, athletics and gymnastics. Loved it. I'd love to feel that fit again, but is finding that class but also finding someone to check I'm doing it right before I injure myself. Now I am older. So what would your advice be there, Kenny? Just find the right class.
Find the right class, but find the right instructor as well. Find the right coach. Because that's always important as well, to make sure you can have a good relationship with them and make sure that you got that trust that they know what they're talking about. Yeah, that'd be my advice on that. Look, and obviously, I think we spoke about this before as well about personal trainers, but speak to people, speak to different people who you might know go to these gymnastic classes or dance classes. Look up their Facebook, see what the reviews are like. Just do nosy before you invest in something. But it's a really good idea to get back to something that you loved as a child, because it will give you a lot of really happy and positive memories as well. And that's probably going to further your chance of sticking with it in your adult life. So go for it, Louise. I want to see you doing the splits by August.
It's interesting because so many people that I've spoke to this week have said that they've really, really, really struggled to find the right thing for them. And I suppose, have they really done enough searching? Have they really looked enough?
Mm-hmm. There's so much available online just now as well. So I guess it's that just trying everything, trying what they can.
Louise is saying, Louise, try aerial classes, basically gymnastics in the air. I do aerial and pole. It's great fun.
I'm looking at Louise's picture there. You can definitely see. On a pole or an aerial. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that's such an amazing thing to be part of. Like the aerial stuff, the strength that people build it compares to none. I'd probably go one further and say I would love to do that rather than do weight training. But I couldn't imagine big 6 foot me hanging for a ceiling. Big bit of spaghetti like you, Stephen.
That again?
Big bit of spaghetti like you hanging for the ceiling.
I'm no a bit of spaghetti. I look more like a bit of gnocchi.
Gnocchi.
But it's true what you're saying. The aerial stuff is really, really good, isn't it? If like Pink, she's always up on ribbons, shows and all the rest of it. So she's super, super fit.
Yeah.
But she trains like 5 days a week up on those ropes, doesn't she?
Aye. It's incredible, the core strength in people with that.
Yeah. And see, when you're talking about core strength as well, see things like yoga, because yoga is really, really good for building core strength. What's your thoughts on yoga?
Love yoga. Absolutely. It's something that I would love to make more time for. And I know that probably in 10 years' time I'll regret not making more time for it. But yoga's it's more balanced because it's a lot about the mind as well. You get that 60 or 90 minutes to really slow down and focus on your breathing and focus on the heart rate and just think. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're doing classes, you don't really get to think, you're just moving.
And what's the difference between like a high energy, like come on and work with me Kenny class to a yoga class that's really chilled? What's the difference in what it's going to do for the body?
Yoga, I guess yoga's when it comes to the joints and the ligaments and the tendons and the muscles and everything that's your body uses to move, the benefits of doing yoga, even strength, yoga improves your strength because you're holding poses, you're lengthening the body out. It's almost like you're ironing your body out. Whereas when you're teaching classes, it's more stressing the muscles, getting the heart rate up, sweating, feeling amazing. But then it's a 3 or 4 minute stretch at the end. And most people won't actually do any more stretching than that outside. So that's why I do a stretch class to force them to stretch. But yoga it's amazing. It's an amazing thing to do, to give yourself time. A lot of people struggle with slowing down. And that's because we live in such a fast-paced country. People say, I can't do yoga, I can't, sit still for 60 or 90 minutes. But they quite happily sit at a desk for 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah. Yoga really connects the mind and the body, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Massively. You get a lot of people that say, "Oh, I had, say they've got an injury or they've got some sort of niggle or something bothering them, and then they attend yoga for say 30 days, and it goes like that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally goes."
I did yoga about 6 years ago, and I used to attend a yoga class every single week, and I really found that, see, from like my hips right up to my ribs,
Mm-hmm.
that part of the body, I suppose my core, it was really, really strong.
Yeah.
So I used to do a headstand, but bring my legs up really slowly.
Uh-huh.
See now, like, can't even get my head between my legs. Never mind get my like, it's just terrible. I can't do it anymore, but I remember feeling really, really strong, so I could pull my legs right up, and it just felt amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think yoga has got a place for that part of the body, doesn't it?
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
So that's us at the end of today. We're just at 27 minutes past, Kenny, and there's no really any other questions. I don't have any other questions for you either. Is there anything that you want to chat about before we go?
I'm all good. I just want to say thank you for having me on for 6 weeks. I can't believe it's been 6 weeks. And thank you to everybody who has watched and asked questions and got themselves involved. It's been a nice wee experience and a nice wee journey for me. So thank you. And you've not seen the last of me.
And what's your top tips for anybody who is thinking about or considering a journey to better health?
Small steps at a time. So pick one thing at a time that you can really focus on each week. Make sure it fits into your life. So you've got to make sure it fits into your lifestyle and your life and about your work and about your family. And don't beat yourself up if you don't achieve what you first set out to achieve, because it will happen.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Kenny.
You're very welcome.
We are a spiritual community as well. Shared this with Kenny already, but my prediction for the Group X guy or for GX Fitness, I'm not going to share too much, but I've shared with Kenny what I think. But watch this space, because see this guy? Where am I? That way. See this guy? It's weird because I have to point that way and you're actually on that side of me.
Oh, I see that actually. I
This guy, I truly believe that Kenny's business is really going to lift over the next 2 years. So I want you to watch this space, and I want you to remember, all you West Lothian folk, I know the Glasgow folk will be like, we know Kenny Walker. But all you West Lothian and Edinburgh folk that are over our side of the town, watch out for Kenny and watch out for the amazing stuff that's coming, because I have got very, very high expectations, I suppose, because I think he's going to be brilliant. I think his business is going to go from strength to strength to strength. So Louise is asking where you're based. He's based in London, Louise.
London. I'm in Glasgow, Louise.
You'll be like Joe Wicks with his mansion and his ice bath and his hot tub and all the rest of it.
That's what they called me last lockdown. I get put in the Daily Record for being the Scottish Joe Wicks. That's
amazing. So we do need somebody like you in Scotland, because Joe Wicks is like down south. So let's get your name out there as the Scottish Joe Wicks and make it work.
We'll see.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much, and thank you for tuning in today. We will have Kenny back, but just not every single week, because, like you say, we're going to go around the same old hamster wheel every week and talk about the same stuff. We spoke about that 4 weeks ago, Kenny, and we spoke about that last week. So we will get Kenny back, and have an absolutely fantastic day, everybody. Tomorrow we have got a new guest, actually.
Oh, is it in for a treat?
She's taken over from James permanently, only because she's got a beautiful Irish accent, and I told James that we're going to ditch him for the Irish accent. I'm joking. We're not going to ditch him. He'll probably send me a message in 10 minutes saying, "Stephen, I'm not going to do the soul man surgeries anymore. But we've got Nicola tomorrow, and she does NLP hypnotherapy. She's also a breathwork and meditation coach. So she's right on my street, actually, because I'm a breathwork and meditation coach as well. So yeah, she's going to be doing all of that work with you tomorrow on NLP, hypnotherapy, breathwork. I'm just looking at my notes here.
She's lovely. Nicola's lovely. She's got gorgeous energy.
Brilliant. So we'll really look forward to having Nicola tomorrow. And then next Wednesday, we've got James back again. And lots of you were really, really inspired by James's chat last week, just saying how he really made you think about things all to do with the mind and how you'd never really thought about things the way that you had when James was on. So, Kenny, I'm blethering now, so I'm going to finish. Well, thank you, everybody. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow with the lovely Nicola. Bye for now. Bye, Kenny.
Bye.